Why did reincarnation put us here again? Welcome to the New Spirit Radio Show by the Society of Novus Spiritus, founded by world-renowned spiritual teacher Sylvia Browne. Today's date should be March 19 of 2025. Coming to you live from California, both NorCal and SoCal are your hosts, Reverend Tom Bigley and Reverend Catherine Taylor, playing audio segments we call Messages from Spirit. Why? Helping you understand the fundamental question, what are we here for?
These segments are recorded trance sessions from Francine, Sylvia's spirit guide. So for new people, Sylvia was a full trance medium, which means Sylvia contracted to let her and Francine's essences exchange places in Sylvia's body. And we think of our bodies being similar to a car. One driver gets out and another driver gets in. And this allowed Francine to share spiritual knowledge with us directly from the other side.
On occasion, another master teacher and healer, a guide named Rahim, would exchange with Sylvia and present us with spiritual information as well. Francine and Rahim shared directly from sources like the Akashic Records, Mother and Father God, our spirit guides, Christ, and many others.
And meanwhile, during trance, Sylvia would sit on a nice bench in a rose garden on the other side.
And here are our hosts, Reverend Catherine Taylor and Reverend Tom Bigley.
Hello.
Howdy. We got here, and looks like the internet seems to be helping us as well. So
good.
Fun. I'll want to start out, besides welcoming everybody, regardless of when you're watching this, welcome all the new viewers and new subscribers. Yes, that tick mark is ticking up. So we do appreciate those advancements, I guess you might call that. What I'd like to do is start out with a quick outline and agenda for those of you that are new, so you understand, hey, what is it that we're presenting for you? First, we'd like to go into some announcements, and then that's followed by how did you use Novus Spiritus philosophy, which is a fun segment where we share what we've used. If you're familiar with it, now's a great time to start posting in the comments how you use the philosophy, because we want to know. We continue with special prayers and a moment of silence. We'll get into the trance segments. That's followed by a meditation. I'll talk about some closing notes. And a little bit later is our special prayer ceremony that everybody's welcome to participate in. It's called, did I say it? Novena. And I'll describe that and how that functions and what we're going to do a little bit later. That's followed by appreciation, and we conclude with a prayer by Sylvia. One of the first things we get to do, and you're welcome to do this too if it's appropriate for your venue, wherever you're at. See if this will work. Light a candle. Well, this is a brand new candle, and it may or may not. Oh, well, it looks like it's going to go, so we'll see what it looks like later. Some quick announcements. Again, welcome to all new subscribers and followers. Hey, would you like to help promote this content? On Facebook, if you'd share, like, follow. On YouTube, you can subscribe, give a thumbs up. I see we're improving on thumbs up, so do encourage that. Or click on the bell so that you get notified, one, when we go live, and two, if you're not watching live, hey, when the post is ready for you to watch. If you'd like to donate and help promote what we are providing for you, you can use a credit card, go to Venmo or PayPal. And in addition to that, we are signed up to use Zelle. You can send funds to office@novus.org. And if you're like me, if you're concerned about if you spelled it right the first time, you can always send $5 and call the office. Make sure you verify that the funds got sent. Make a note in there, too, so they know who sent the funds. Also, a reading with Chris Dufresne can be that new growth and luck for your future. Because what is it? It's that time of year. Recently, we had St. Patty's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So when's the best time to plant a tree and get more luck from that? 10 years ago. When's the second best time to plant that tree?
Today.
Great. So plant your seeds today from a reading with Chris for your future spiritual growth. And there could be some luck involved too. Also, don't miss out on Chris question specials with email notifications. Go to his website at chrisrightnow.com and put your email in there. Facebook users, you are special, you are unique because they ask for special permissions. So if you want to be seen, your name be seen in chat, go to the description, the description, and click on that link and accept the permissions that they ask for. I don't know what it is, but that's what I was informed to inform you about. And it's always helpful to see who's on. And again, towards the end, we also like to share people's posts and what they thought about this evening's show. So that's something to look forward to. Now is our fun segment we call How Did You Use Novus Spiritus Philosophy in the last week? Well, actually, it was 2 weeks. But how did you use it recently? Is there something special? I like to ask Kat, who's going first? Or who's on first? Who's going first? Whether we do rock, scissors, paper, or just choose or point a finger.
I would love to hear what you used if you have something.
Okay. Yes, I did some homework. And I gotta find. Oh, okay. I was gonna use this last week, and we're on last week, and this relates to why we weren't on last week. So here are my notes. I'm gonna see if I can do a better summary here. I was stressing over many priority tasks to complete and intolerant to let tasks go. A lot of things on my plate, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to not do many of these. Well, the symptoms from all that, I've noticed I became like short-tempered and quick to think negative remarks, like things that pop in your head from reacting to things. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So, and my spouse even said, you're aggressive. I said something with a little bit different flavor to the way I usually talk, and I was like, okay, and I noticed it too. I was like, okay, well, then it progressed into depressed when I was tired and waking up with tension in my neck, and the question came to mind. I stopped and thought, okay, what do I got to do? And it's like, what am I not doing for me? Not listening to humor first thing in the morning. One of my habits that kind of comes and goes is first thing I wake up, I'll just sit up and stop and listen to some humor in some form. Also, not reading out of the book before I go to sleep at night, which gets me out of the can get me out of the one. We know most of us are familiar with what a computer screen or your phone screen can do. Is it's got your attention, your mind is like on full alert, and reading has helped me to like shift my mind to say, okay, we can slow down and time for rest. I go to sleep easier that way. Also, not getting massaged. I haven't done it yet, but that's on my to-do list. Unfortunately, it's still a little further down in the priorities at the moment. Getting a full body massage, and it's like get those elbows in there. And I spoke about this, I think 2 years ago, something like that. I had asked Chris, why do I got a pain in the neck and soreness and whatever? And he's like, oh, it was about holding tension. And I thought, oh, I forgot if he said it or I figured it out. I needed to get a full, deep tissue massage to work out the toxins that were caught in that area. Well, duh, that's that's the pain in my neck, and with negativity, things collect right there. So that's what I've been working out, and realizing, okay, I got to make some adjustments. So that's my 3 cents, 2 cents, 2 bits.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I suppose for me, so a couple of things too. I am continuing to follow our philosophy of you prioritize the Western doctor's recommendations first, and then if you go to another holistic or Eastern practitioner, that's secondary advice. So I had a marvelous meeting with an acupuncturist this past weekend, and that was something that I definitely wanted to do for myself, because it's just so surprising to me every time I go to acupuncture how effective they are for like odd health situations. Yes. Just things that you're just like struggling with. Acupuncture is just so good. So anyway, I met with this gentleman. He was so sweet and just kind of eccentric and just really, really just enjoyable and very heartfelt. And I was walking him through like the specific things that I was walking him through, like specific things that my doctors were had said, and he had the most marvelous answer. He says, because I was like, would you consider herbs for this? And he's like, listen, because your doctor is giving you a specific medicine for this specific thing, let me tell you something about the herbal remedies. They are fantastic. They are thousands of years old and put together by brilliant minds from the past. But I'll tell you something. If they had access to our technology and our diagnostics and our medicine, they would use those things currently.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to give you any herbs because this medicine for this one thing, like, you just need to follow your doctor. But we will do the acupuncture. And I was like, okay, fantastic. And I just loved that answer so much. It was so respectful and thought out that and I was like, oh yeah, I want to share that on our podcast. So it was really, I thought that was really neat. And I felt a lot of improvements after just one session. And also, like, very bizarrely, my tailbone has been aching for months. And I didn't even mention it in acupuncture. Only mentioned it afterwards. And he's like, oh, that must be that's not my table. I'm like, no. He's like, oh, okay. And something about you. And then my tailbone hasn't hurt since. And so even though I had just like points on my hands, face, belly, and feet, it's like, that's just so wild. It's so wild.
Yeah.
To me, so,
well, that's similar. It sounds similar to like fibromyalgia, not fibromyalgia. No, sciatic nerve isn't from. To my understanding, it's not about the nerve itself. It's the origin of the nerve that's irritated. So the whole thing gets like and is irritating, and the origin is like up in the back.
Yes.
So there's like inflammation or something in the back, and anyway, but yeah, that's I recall one of our former ministers did acupuncture and acupressure professionally, and that was remember Jenny?
Yes. She was so sweet. She was so sweet. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a wonderful modality. I couldn't recommend it enough. And so yeah, that was great. And I even met with my surgeon yesterday and mentioned acupuncture. She's like, oh, fantastic. So she's like, we have no idea how it works. And that was a very logical woman, the surgeon. She's like, we have no idea how it works. We just know that it does. And I'm like, yeah.
Good. Well, that's a good positive. Who's got something in the comments?
All right, our comments.
I hope they're doing more than chatting.
Reverend Danny's here. Fantastic to see you, Danny. Says he just started going to chiropractic and massage, prioritizing self-care. Well done. Good for you. That's marvelous to hear. Lots of folks saying hello and checking in. Hello, Nicole from Facebook. And Gibson says, I've been asking for an angel to attend me during the day and have him dressed like a Roman soldier with a golden sword. Things are just that bad. It seems like you've been going through a tough period lately, and you've been on my mind, and I will be happy to pray for you to pray that the window of negativity, just whatever that looks like, just gets shut and nailed down, and that you get as much buffering and protection as possible. Just prayers for you. Absolutely. Fantastic Beast says, how are you feeling, Kat, since your surgery? We are on the mend. Thank you very much for asking. Very sweet. Ramona says, spring equinox tomorrow. Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh, marvelous. Gardens.
Which means we're coming into more daylight.
Yes. Love it. Gardens shares, I used the Sunday service meditation last night and this morning and another time, and it really does make a person feel relaxed and better. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, you're welcome.
Beautiful. And Ramona also says, Kat, the righteous gemstones are back. Yes, I was... They are going out with a bang, my goodness, because this is the last season. I was so shocked watching it, but I could not stop laughing. Oh my goodness. Goodness. Diana, Samuel, very nice to see you. Jorge, all wonderful that you're here. Samuel says, hello everyone watching from Kenya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. But my goodness, my heart goes out to you. So excited that you're here. He says, so much interest to start a study group in Nairobi. Any guidance? Ooh.
Call the office.
Maybe email the office.
Yeah, go to the website.
Okay.
And there should be helpful instructions there. And if not, email the office, office@novus.org. And you should be able to get some assistance how to sign up.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. Sylvia loved Kenya.
Yeah.
She loved talking about Kenya. That's amazing. So glad that you're here. And yeah, if you ever have questions, please email. Absolutely. Ron, Alicia, it's so good to see you. Carolyn, D. D says, Reverend Jenny was very good at guided meditations. How has she been? I only heard a secondhand story of where about Jenny. I don't know if you know where Jenny ended up.
Well, what's your
I thought that she...
We don't want to start tabloids here, but...
I heard from another person in church that she went back home and ended up with an illness. And
yes, that's my understanding too. Okay. And we haven't heard from her since.
Oh, she just loved her. Loved her. Her talks were marvelous too. It's really great. And then Ron says, for the last couple of weeks, I've been putting myself in a cylinder of mirrors and wearing Joan of Arc armor. Loving it. Very powerful. Fantastic imagery. You know, there's something interesting about the mirrors. And you can try this on yourself. I tried this once when I was in a really terrible mood, and I was wondering, like, if I was doing it to myself, because sometimes you're just in a bad mood and you just want to be in a bad mood. And I'm like, okay. So I was curious, but it's like, I wonder if I'm doing this to myself or if it's coming from someone else. And what I tried was I was like, okay, I visualized the mirrors facing outward and just felt what that felt like. And then I flipped the mirrors inward, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I could really feel a difference between like feeling relief or feeling like, oh, I feel my own light kind of bouncing off and around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only been once or twice where I've tried that. I was like, is this coming from me and I need to do some personal work right now, or is it coming from somewhere else and I just need to like amp up my protection? And it's been informative for me about that. I just thought that was super interesting. It's like, oh, you can feel the difference if you flip them. Very curious. Thank you everyone for your comments, and we look forward to having this marvelous conversation as we go. So we're going to be talking about reincarnation and aliens today. Woohoo!
Before we get there, though,
Yes.
now it's time for special prayers. So what I'd like all of us to do is stop for a moment and think of someone, something that you want to see something done different or some intervention done, but visualize it in your mind. What is that outcome? What do you want to see? How do you want to see that completed? So with that visualization, we're going to ask for the archetypes, archangels, mother god, or spirit guides, even whoever needs to get involved. We're going to ask, put our energy out, because we're the ones that need to ask for that assistance. That includes if you're putting something in the comments that's public for us to see, or if you want to do something quiet, go to the website, post on the prayer chain. We are including all of that. And even if you do it tomorrow, we're still including all of that. So let's take a moment. We're going to have a moment of silence, get that energy out and the requests out. So. Amen.
Amen.
And let's see. Oh, I spoke about that. And be the prayer. If you see a need, fill it. Let's see. What do we got on? Oh, I think we're good there. We do have, if you are, I almost said it. I almost said if you're spiritually challenged. If you are streaming challenged, we have a conference call number you can call in while we are live. You can listen in by phone. And the number is 888-534-2696. Also appreciate that you stay muted so that everybody else that's listening to it has a wonderful show. Now it's time for the trance segments.
All right. So we're listening to 1989 in April. And Francine is going to be talking about, in the first segment, reincarnation has happened for a long time. She basically says forever, but it's been happening for a very, very long time. Option lives on other planets. There's 4 mini levels between each level of spiritual advancement on the other side. Most advanced souls started incarnating from Andromeda.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Take notes. This is like we're a reminder, or for those of you that are new, or those that have been listening for a while, we've started over. We're at the beginning again of the organized trance session. So that's the best way I can describe it. All right, here we go.
Tonight, I'm going to talk about reincarnation. I'm going to tell you facets of that possibly you never have heard before. As you know, these research trances are twofold. They are for your information as well as the ongoing philosophy of the religion. I will save time afterwards for you to be able to talk first about any questions that you would like to ask me about the subject material, and then also any personal questions that you would like to ask me. The constant recycling of entities has been always. I think what you must realize is the clarification of having a last life anywhere is very prominent for most of you. This is not to say that most of you on this spiritual level that are in this room, and if you were not of a spiritual level, you would not be here. This is not the time and place for curiosity anymore. It's very deep and very serious. Because the series that we cover is the exploration of the soul. When you finish your earthly life, as we talked about last time, going through the tunnel, coming back through the tunnel, many of you in this room will choose option lives to go to other planets. Now I'll start at that point and then I'll work backwards. Most of you may say at this point, I do not want to do that. Please note the word option. Even though an option life is very precarious, it is also very rewarding as far as spiritual accumulation, as far as getting higher up in the spectrum of the other side. Now you may say to me, why would you want to gain a higher position if on any position you are just as happy? Because the capacity for happiness is greater. And so the increasing love of this state of bliss is something that everyone wishes for, something that everyone aspires to. It's like saying, I am so in love that I do not think I could be happier, and yet something comes along and makes you happier still. And once you reach that height, or have touched it. Now, what we have on the other side is what we call, literally, the touching of the levels. Let's say most of you in this room will go to 5th and 6th level. And looking around, I cannot see anyone or sense anyone that your guides are informing me that will not be on 5th or 6th level. Within the 5th and 6th level on the other side, however, there are many levels. There are 4 major steps within each and every level. First level is only an orientation level. So you can't count that as a level. Second level is a much lower level, and it's what we might almost call the level of unresolved problems with souls. In other words, at the end of all this, the earthbounds will be taken back and absorbed and made whole, or seek their own individuality, or are able to go back into the Godhead. Very few entities, I want to stop right here, and ever aspire to go into a nebulous 7th level, though. So on all 4 levels, from 2nd to 3rd, whether it's animal husbandry, whether it's teaching level, orientation level, all levels have these different definitive steps. To be able to attain high 6th level, many lives must be accomplished in many different areas. You keep your same theme. All you do is travel to other dimensional schematics, which are other planetary systems. On the planets, they have their other side. And I don't know how to explain to you that all these other sides are easily accessible by thought. So you can travel to any one of the planets Andromeda's other side when you come to my other side by just thinking yourself there. And you will choose many times to go into that planetary or that planet system because of something you want to experience. Now, most all of you souls, entities in this room, are definitely from Andromeda. That is the reason why each and every one of you, beyond any shadow of any doubt, feels alienated from your world around you. From the very time that you came in to this world, whether you came into Australia or England or North America, you always felt this yearning and this feeling of not being in touch with your reality around you. And that doesn't mean that you might not have lived many lifetimes within and on this planet. What you might not have known is that you have incarnated in between that on other planets. In other words, when you come to where I reside now on the other side, doesn't mean you are set there. You're not allocated to one place. You will then maybe come in, let's say hypothetically, to the 1600s. Then you could go to Andromeda and live out a lifetime or 2 lifetimes, or you could go to Crab Nebula or any of the other galaxies, and then come back and have another life here. And in many cases, the general rule is once you're here, though, and you have X amount of lives, because as you well know, this is the hardest planet.
Well, just a quick reminder, I was thinking about when I said, oh, we're at the beginning. No, we're not beginning of video. this is from where we had started the origins of the trance sessions. That's we started doing the Blog Talk Radio show, what, 13 or some odd years ago. So this is like pre-video kind of thing. Anyway, fun fun concept of explaining where we're coming from, where most of us have come from, and the going through the reincarnation process. And we also, I can't remember which Journey of the Soul book talks about levels of the soul, the advancement she was referring to in our education, as it were.
I'm so sorry. Okay. Floofy was having a negotiation. Can you say the very last thing that you said?
I didn't know which journey talks about. There's a whole section in a journey book about the levels, as it were, educational or advancement levels on the other side.
I feel like it's 2 or 4. Oh, maybe somebody knows. I did pick up the Levels of Creation book.
Oh, okay. That's a start.
Which also has it. Yeah. So what Sylvia writes in this is that the 5th level has most of the scientists, mission life entities, and mystical travelers, and then the 6th level has teachers and lecturers. And she talks about how there's a little bit of fluidity and kind of what that looks like. Somebody in the comments, Esteban, said that Chris, in Chris's reading, said that he was on the 7th level. Chris also told me oh shoot, how do I want to say this? So Esteban says I was hoping to get some more clarification if I had a chance to talk to Chris again. I think that would be wonderful to clarify, but I would bet that it might mean that you're on level 6.34. So how Francine was just mentioning that there are many levels in between, like the main levels
from one to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know at one point during the trances that Francine, that someone in the audience was like, Francine, did you go through something important last night? Because I think there was they had some sort of like experience while asleep, and Francine said actually yes, and she had been given gone through like a promotion or a ceremony of something, because she had achieved like the highest level that you can get on level 6, where it's like you have the I think she described it as having as being one of the people that helps escort people into the 7th level. So it's like you're as close to like being able to tolerate the Godhead's intense power.
Yeah.
Is what she said. And I'm sure there's probably other, I wouldn't be surprised, I would say. I wouldn't be surprised if there were other responsibilities and descriptions that people do. But Esteban, that would be my guess if I had to guess. Because the 7th level in every encounter that we've had with Francine and Rahim, they're very clear that 7th level, once you're in the 7th level, that's where you stay. You are returned to the beauty of God Almighty, and like pouring water into an ocean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that's a choice.
It is a choice.
There's also an opportunity to visit.
Yes, we can visit
for fun.
Yes.
So if that's something that you curious about, by all means do meditation, or if you know somebody that can do regressive hypnosis. I used to do it years ago, and I think somebody I was helping got to go and visit, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool, because I don't know for sure, but the description that was the person was describing was like, oh, that sounds like then my that sounds just like the seventh level. That might have been a very powerful, to me, would I would assume be a powerful experience for the person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great questions, though. And yes,
Any
fabulous.
more comments?
Yeah.
Questions?
Miss LJ is here. So nice to see you, Miss LJ. Hope you are doing well and having good health. And Nicole says, sure do miss that lady. Amen. Mm-hmm. Oh, Esteban said, Chris told me I work on the 7th. Oh, I would bet then that you are, that you might be that the same level as Francine of helping people get into the 7th level. It's like 6 and 3/4. Yeah, because there's 4 mini levels. You're probably on like the very, very top rung of that. That would be my guess. Jorge says, Chris told me that I'm a teacher on the 6th level. I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that. You're a wonderful teacher.
I got a fun question for Esteban.
Mm.
At that level, have you been curious? Because I would be curious, me personally, if I had known I'm on that level, what's my purpose for this life? What are the lessons, and how are they? Why did I choose this? What are the lessons, and how do they apply and help? How do they help me on that level, helping others? That would be my fun curiosity. If and maybe but it'd be fun to hear about.
Yeah. Kristen says, isn't the 7th level being dissolved into the Godhead? Yes. Yes. So I think we were just trying to figure out what Chris was picking up in that comment that he had given to Esteban. And Esteban says, yes, that sounds about right. Thank you. All right, great. Diana's comment saying, I'm seeing more and more people opening up to the true Bible writings, what was left out and added. Yeah, it's really fascinating seeing that. Garden says, has anyone here seen the other side vividly in vision or meditation or dream? I did in my get out of atheism sort of near-death experience when I was a young person. It was as vivid as it was, as real as sitting in this chair right now. It was extremely, extremely, extremely powerful and extremely healing. All of this, I'll just say the extremely short version of that. I had 6 months of crushing guilt and embarrassment over a mistake that I had made. And I had said, I am never talking about God ever again. Or any religion, nothing. Never going to say it ever again. And I was like almost mute for 6 months. I was a young person and a teenager. And then I had the experience, saw the other side, saw incredibly vivid details and that timelessness and everything there. And cried and cried and cried. Yep. Yeah. And then I woke up and that guilt was gone. I tried to like reach into it and it was nothing there. And I've never conceived of an experience like that, because usually like you have to work through your emotions, but it was all in this experience that I had, in this like being on the other side and crying what felt like for hours over there, and until I realized that I was ready to go back. And then I woke up and the guilt was gone. All of it was gone. The shame, embarrassment, all of it was just gone. And I could never, like, I was like, how does that happen? Except by divine intervention. I don't think it's possible. So Yeah, if anyone else has stories, please, I'd love to read them. It's amazing hearing people's experiences.
And my significant other loves watching. There's several people on YouTube that that like to interview people that have had near death experiences and talk about, share what they've seen and how did they get the near death experience and what changes they've gone through. They're all in Spanish, so I have a hard time understanding them, but because she likes to watch the Spanish version of them.
No.
So if you're curious what people are seeing, it's they're, you know, if you want to, they're all very similar in essence. So I'm not sure what you're looking for. If you're looking for validation or you're curious what it's like, I've told my partner, be careful what you ask for because it's like if you want a near death experience, you know, what are those people going through? Near death. Do you want to deal with that and the outcomes? And there are other ways to experience that. You can have, you know, work with somebody that does regressive hypnosis, or do a meditation, or in a dream. But preface, you know, in advance, and you to say, I want to experience a vivid visual of the other side, so you don't have to have a near-death experience. So
Yeah,
just some options for you.
absolutely. Well, very, very good. One quick clarification. So merging with the seventh, like being on the seventh level, that is the loss of the individual self, the pouring of the water back into the ocean. That is not the same thing as visiting the seventh level. And that's so there's two different options for experiencing the seventh level. One is I'm going to give up my individuality and return to God permanently, and the other is a visit. And Francine has talked about visiting there and saying that it is such a breathtakingly, shockingly powerful, unbelievably extremely powerful experience that it almost like makes a spirit in the spirit, like in the spirit form, like want to pass out. Like it's extremely powerful. But she described it as seeing, as like being able to talk to God and like ask God direct questions and seeing like faces of people all responding at the same time. But she says like it sounds crazy, but
there was a movie.
Yeah, please.
There was a movie that's it wasn't about the seventh, but it gave the visual of what I think of as the seventh. It's a wall of faces.
Wow.
Each in essence unique face, but they're all blended together. Unique faces, but they're all blended together on this wall. Is how I sort of perceive it. And you become, if you choose to go back, the verbiage that I recall is you go back, if you're permanently going, you go back to the Godhead. And yeah, you get blended in with everyone else. And yes, great analogy. It's you're a cup of water and you get poured back into the ocean. It's in essence the analogy for it. Whereas maybe the visitation might be is you're a cup of water in a clear glass and you get set in the ocean to take a look.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, but yeah, great question. Great question. And another comment is from Jose on YouTube. He says, I was on the other side in a dream and I remember everything was white. I think I was with the council. They were speaking in a different language and I think I was going over my chart with them. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Also, I'm sorry my voice is still recovering from...
Don't apologize.
All right. Ma.
Just suck on candies or something to keep it.
So, all right. I think Might we be ready for our second?
I am.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to pick up. There is no planet out there in the universe that is harder than planet Earth. We have every challenge and adversity that you can possibly think of. Andromeda's challenge is more of an intellectual challenge. The universe's intelligent life all looks human in characteristics. Venus and Earth were colonized at the same time. And here we go.
All right.
I can only tell you this before God, that this is the gospel truth. There is no planet in all of the galaxies any harder than what you call this Earth planet. It has every adversity. It is known throughout the whole galactic universe as the dark planet of insanity. This is a basic home of many dark entities. Now, please do not start into demons and devils. In your philosophy, if any of you have been with Nirvana and Novus for any length of time and studied the philosophies, as the ministers have, and as many of you has been with Sylvia for all these years, have picked up the philosophy, you were always told there was a dark planet. What you were not told is that you were on it.
So comforting.
Now, I have to give Larry credit. Some months ago, I overheard him say to Sylvia, "No one is kidding me. This is noir." This is a planet in which, when you come down, even though you've charted your life, anything can be up in your slang for grabs. That's why this planet is so hard to chart for people. Because the minute you come into this planet, you go in to a very dark labyrinth. That's why you pull in extra guides. That's why we try desperately to be more attended around you. But in any other planet, and that's what your soul yearns for, not only the other side, but the other morphic resonance of memory, that there are places in which these things do not exist. And it's very much like knowing that you must go through a surgery of some kind, knowing that it's painful, but then having it done and thinking you wish you could take it back and you can't, because you've already gone under the knife, and all you can do is endure it until it heals. What I want to do is inform you of how brave you are in the first place to come here. How much you are gaining in growth as far as becoming on the highest plane you possibly can choose on the other side. Because there are millions upon billions of entities that you couldn't do anything to cajole, to conjure, to placate, to get them to come here. But those of you of more spiritual, with your spiritual swords as warriors, have come here and have faced all adversity. On Andromeda, there is a test, of course, but it's much more of an intellectual test. It's very much like the other side in the fact that each person attains their goal through researching, through working, and they compete with themselves rather than the egos of other people. And it is a life form that, of course, is human. There is no life form in the whole galaxy that is not human form. Anyone who tells you that there are strange, funny beings with ugly-looking features is wrong. Every entity made by the female principle as well as the male principle takes on the same human characteristics. The ears may be larger, the eyes smaller, the eyes larger, the stature taller, shorter, darker, lighter. But it is all human. To give you an example of this, and how primitive tribes know this to be true, because in the scope of reincarnation, we also have to talk about colonization. And the colonization was made on this planet millions of years ago, in which time these planetary entities were sent, first of all, as adults and failed miserably because of disease and because of the planet's terrain. You see, we had to colonize in order to give rise to people coming in through females in order to incarnate. And this is done with meticulous detail. Very much like the Mayflower or the early pioneers would chart. This planet was charted out.
Who did this initial colonization?
Andromeda. And yes, they did Venus the same time as they did this planet. And Venus at that point was in a much better position to not heat up and freeze up as it did. Every planet in this solar system has swung into place at one time. In other words, Mercury gave rise to life at one point. Mars gave rise to life at one point. Each planet, in its circular motion, comes into position where it can be acclimated and then swings outward. What's happening now is the same thing that happened to Mercury and Venus, is your planet is now circulating too close. It's going to cause the polar tilt and eventually create its burnout. And then it'll be like Mars and swing out until another planet comes into the circle to give rise to the greenhouse effect again.
How do these planets physically change their orbit? Is this a divine act of God, or is it some external force banging into us? How does the translation occur?
It's a gravitational pull, and we have to get into the whole aspect of the antimatter pull against the matter. It just absolutely rotates in a centrifugal type of force in which one planet, of course there's divine intervention, but it actually, like you see those balls that rotate, silver balls that rotate, one will come into being or in position magnetically, and then the gravitational gets weaker and weaker. The planet begins to burn out, and then the other one comes into a gravitational. You see, you have a great magnetic hold that's outside of your solar system that holds this.
You mean like a black hole?
Yes.
So somehow that shifts and then the planets get all jumbled up.
They don't get jumbled up, they just change their courses.
Is that how the dinosaurs died?
The dinosaurs died, the Ice Age came, and what that does is create your soil to be able to have your oil, your fertilization.
At the end of the polar tilt, Francine, will we move outward in space or inward toward our sun? Will we lose or gain gravity pull?
We lose.
We lose. Approximately how great will orbit be increased? To what? To more to
To almost where Mars is.
out where Mars is?
And then it takes billions and billions of years before it comes back into play again. It's sort of like a game of chess. One moving forward, one moving back. You see, what you don't see, and what scientists do not see, is that if I could use my hands, if I could put all the planets out in front of me, and I would be the one singular magnetic force holding all the planets in. This is something you don't see.
Well, I understand what the gravitational pull as we go out is going to change the gravitational field of other planets, and I can easily see another planet moving into our orbit.
Yes.
There's no doubt that would happen.
Yes, and Mars was in a position at one time to sustain life. That's what the gullies, the canals, the riverbeds were.
How long will it be before Mars, after it takes our orbit, to reevaluate and establish for life forms?
Millions and millions of years.
Will we go through another dinosaur age with Mars again and everything?
It'll be very similar. And every solar system does the same thing. Gives rise to, because there's billions and billions of entities waiting to come in from other planets. It's a constant recycling.
Well, actually, it's a recycling to cleanse the planet, too.
Yes. Because, and then each time the planet is destroyed by man, it gets another chance to be saved again. So it goes through its own reincarnation. Everything has the continuum of infinity. And that is mind-boggling to the finite mind. Now, when Andromedans came and the adults died, and they couldn't even procreate, they then, in a manner of years, sent children. And it became like there was a movie in your time called Lord of the Flies. And this was very much, especially in the beginning of this type of movie, in which children did run wild on the planet, grew up and procreated, and they seemed to acclimate. And then the Andromedans realized that they had a place in which they could send their entities into a physical body.
Which I'm not sure we've heard why it was the children survived, learned to survive where the adults didn't. But it almost seems like speculating wise, it's the adults might not have what's the word? Kids have a tendency to get sick and build up immunity for whatever ails them, whereas adults have things set in place. So it's a thought, but I gotta one of these sometime get a chance to see if I get to hear why the adults died out. Why couldn't they survive? What was the weakness that they had? Where's the children survive?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Be fascinating to hear the answer. Also, we've got some other comments.
Let's do two comments.
Do two comments. Okay. So, I wanted to read Esteban's reply. Oh gosh. Of course, our comments kind of ate themselves here in where I'm looking. Okay. Wow. Like I had the timestamp and everything. Now I don't see it. Okay. So
It's all right.
Esteban said basically that that was a great question that you had asked him, Tom, before, and that he would take some time to think about it, and that he noticed that like artists and certain types of people would always be attracted to him, which is lovely. And something I wanted to tell Esteban as I was thinking about his comment there, Esteban, you always strike me as being very uplifting, and if that's your job on the other side, to help people visit into an upper place, like that's lovely. And
you might be reflecting that here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being incarnated.
Absolutely. And because a lot of us are on option lives in order to help other people get out of the muck and mire of how tough this life is. And so, it's good. Good thing to reflect on.
Educate others.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jorge says the children might have had a chance to build up their immunity in a different way. That would make a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Thank you. All right, so those were our two comments. So, all right.
Well,
also, I wanted to add one thing. The Earth's orbit, science says, is not a perfect circle. It is a little bit elliptical, and so it does have wobble, and they call this Milankovitch cycles, which occur roughly every 20,000, 40,000, 100,000, and 400,000 years, that trigger the different ice ages and things, because science says that Earth's orbit has changed as we go through these different cycles. So kudos to what we just listened to. All right. So our next segment, the last segment, is going to talk about planets change orbits over billions of years. Mars at one time could sustain life. Earth had difficulty sustaining human life initially until there was a generation of Lord of the Flies.
cool.
Okay.
Well, if the question is if the chicken, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the movie come first, or did the planet come first, or?
That's a good question.
Anyway, we'll learn.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
This planet was very hard for some reason, I'm told in records, to get to the point in which human life could be sustained. For one thing, it's because it's a very small planet. There's too much water on it, and it's unusable water to boot. And the whole terrain is mostly unusable. You have far too many deserts. You see, we have the same configuration that you have on the other side, but as I told so many of you in early research trances, the landmass is larger. Of course there are oceans, but you don't need that much water. Now you may say to me, where does God play in all of this? If this seems like such a physical phenomenon, then is God not omnipresent? Of course. God not only set it into motion, but he keeps it rotating by his omnipotent presence. In other words, the unmoved mover is a principle by which everything moves, that is a one static constant. continuous thing. If I set something into motion that goes on perpetually, am I not still the one that set it into motion? And my being watching it keeps it constantly the top rotating. Absolutely. So no matter what scientists try to bring about as far as physical laws, and God permits all physical laws of physics, because of course God is the absolute physical law of physics. And that's what they haven't realized. The final conclusion, of course, is that everything is within God's keeping. What the physicist tries to do is understand God's mind. And God's mind is complex but simplistic in the fact that everything is held and motivated by His divine guidance. And of course hers. Because it was a dual creation. And was it all created? Dually, yes. But it always was, and that's what we have a hard time. We can never know a time when it was not circular, when it wasn't always here. Now, what I have to say to you is that in this dark planet, when the rules are much more stringent, though, is when you touch the heart of piety and spirituality. You can never break that covenant with yourself. Once you make the choice of this, and it is a religious spiritual quest, not just Novus, because it's truly a Gnostic test. And you break the covenant with yourself, you make yourself pay dearly for that. No one else does. But the covenant is with God and you to come down and bring enlightenment to the world and get this terrible dark planet into light and not be afraid with guilt, with horror, with devils and demons. And what better place to do it than on the very ground place in which dark energies roam? So you see, you do have a battle. This is the only planet in which disease exists. This is the only planet in which when one is ready to die, they do not cross the threshold and just go. Literally step out of their body slumps, and they cross the line into the other side. This is the only planet in which people do not find their ultimate partner and stay with them. Procreation is not as great on other planets, but merging is. And the reason, of course, that this procreation is so prevalent on this planet and why population is so accelerated is a very spiritual reason. It's because all the entities that want to perfect quickly are going to rush in now and try to finish up all the hard lessons before the end of this planet. Because as a planet wanes in its power, it becomes more difficult. And that means that you can take all your college courses in 1 year rather than have to go to 3 or 4 different planets and take a longer time. So those of you that are living out a life, think about all the people that you've known that have, have really completed their graduation faster than you could on any other planet. And that's why it takes bravery and stamina, but it also means that there is a great and glorious plus to all of this. That you don't have to or will not wish to live as many lives because you've completed so many spiritual tests that you would not ever have to complete anywhere else. Because there aren't those kind of tests anywhere else. Religion does not exist anywhere else except on this planet. Spirituality exists throughout the galaxies. This is the only place in which religionistic practices seem to have taken hold. All of you that believe in the spiritual world are religious without being religionistic. Religionistic means that there is nothing but ritual and confinement and persecution and dogma and rights and wrongs and sins. The Bible does not exist on any other planet. There are many books of wisdom and beauty, and they all say the same message, whether they're the Talmud, the Quran, the Kabbalah, the Bible. But the Bible, as you know it, does not exist. Every one of you that have taken on this spiritual mantle have been tested sorely. There has been everything in your path, especially in the last year of 88, and especially for Sylvia, to be annihilated. And that is like a crucifixion and a lion's den that all of you can suffer with. But now it's over. You had a question, Gene.
Yes, so Francine, you were referring to books on this side. The other side, would you expound a little on the Book of Life?
The Book of Life, Gene, seems to be known all through the galaxies. It contains, or it's also known as a Book of Wisdom. And it is a very beautiful white gold bound book that contains all the writings of all the masters, not only here, but in other places. This planet does not take well to any avatar or person who wants to create any good. It will not in your own circle. And so many of you must really be watchful on being a warrior entity. That doesn't mean you go around brandishing the sword, but you must, in your own, whether you ever come back here, never ever walk in this path again, keep your own spirituality clean. Do not let anyone barter with you, frighten you, demean you, criticize you, and hurt you. Not for your sexual preferences, not for your love of life, not for your way you've raised your children, have not had children, not for anything. Must you allow people to demean you? This is the only planet in which people demean other people. And of course you have dark entities around you. And these dark entities do nothing but constantly incarnate on dark planets. They never go to the other side. As soon as they are dead, they come right back into another vehicle. They're stopped at level 1. They're never allowed in. So the tunnel that goes from here to the other side is, for them when they die, the tunnel goes right through the vaginal tract of the female, right out into the world again. So you never have to be worried about ever having a dark entity walk with you on the other side, because the only domain they have is an Earth life or some planet life. Most of them here.
Which is an interesting concept. If this is a new idea, it's the antithesis to the total antithesis, and it sometimes takes me a minute to think of, okay, how do we perceive for us as white entities that when we cross over, we go to our other side for this planet, and there's Father God. But this is the hard place. Being incarnated is being the hard place. For how I understand she's describing, for dark entities, this is their other favorite place, being incarnated, not on their other side.
Yeah.
Makes for an interesting, antithesis, difference, and it's. Well, you'll have to read about dark entities in the Journey of the Soul 5, I think it is. Good and Evil. That's the...
Joey over on Facebook says, I wonder what Francine and Sylvia's take would have been on the law of attraction. I have a hot take on that, but do you know anything about that, Tom?
Which...
Oh.
Well, I recall the phrase. I don't recall the rules, the laws.
Mm-hmm. So I saw this come up in a Scientology documentary. So I just want to say,
and they're not the only ones
caution.
that have had the. Well, they're not the only ones that have used the concept.
Exactly. That's the thing with cults drives me so bananas, is that they will take something that is a positive, and they'll try to repackage it and then say, like, see, this is why you should do our cult following because of these positive things if you just get your mind in the right place. And it's just like, ooh, proceed with caution.
What's your take on the concept? What's the purpose of the
okay.
law?
Let me look up exactly what they say it is. The law of attraction.
But why? I guess why are you pointing at their definition of it or their explanation for it?
Because my introduction into the law of attraction and like The Secret and things like that was through it was like shrouded into a package that was actually Scientology at the like it was trying to like suck people into Scientology. And so that is why I have a very strong reaction that I am having now.
To Scientology or to the law of attraction?
To somebody coming out and saying, like, come to my law of attraction course.
Oh, okay.
To that I say, proceed with caution. Because underneath there might be somebody who has an ulterior motive, because cults use stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so in trying to figure out, like, well, how does Gnosticism respond to something like that, is I say Gnosticism keeps being stolen from by some of these other groups who say, borrowed. Like, here's something nice. Yeah, borrowed. Yeah. Here's something nice. Here's a goodie. Here's a goodie. Here's a goodie. Let's take these goodies and be like, if you follow like all of this stuff and give us thousands and thousands of dollars and sign up all your stuff, then we'll give you the secret knowledge. And that obviously is not us. Like, no. But so the law of attraction, to the best of my understanding, is the idea that positive thoughts attract positive things. And I think that's just so simplistic. I think that if you do good deeds in the world, that counts and it's meaningful. And if you do bad deeds in the world and you're a jerk to people, then that's going to come around and get you. So I think that just like keeping it simple and taking a step back and say like, oh, okay, here's what Gnosticism believes about karma. I think that is more personally for me, I find to be a more helpful way of approaching that conversation. Because thinking positively all the time, then that I have seen people in Los Angeles who have like this very, very like, oh no, you got to do law of attraction sort of approach. And I see people really cutting themselves off from their emotions. And I think that is extremely unhealthy and it's not productive. So I saw a person like in real time getting mad at a door not going, and then they were like, oh no, like I'm now going to attract like something bad because I had like this moment of like a negative thought,
anger.
Yeah, it was just like, it's just, that's madness. That is absolute, that's so bananas.
They're just trying to be so definitive about, oh, I can't. Yeah, you're right. And we've got our emotions. Well, what's your take though on oh, you were saying
it's just too simplistic.
Being positive. And what's our tenet that shows that?
What is it? I need to get my tenets out. Which tenet
whatever
is it?
Lovest, whatever. Oh, now
whatever
I'm not
you
saying
love,
it right.
Whatever you loveth
whatever
thou.
thou lovest thou.
Yes.
So if you like
if
negative
you
thinking,
love it,
you
then
are attracting negative thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. If you are putting I think that it is accurate to say if you are putting energy into something, then you can get more of that energy back. But I think that that the law of attraction is just way too simplistic. And that there's a lot more nuance that goes into it. Like if someone has a bad day, you have a bad day. It's not going to ruin everything that happens after that. Like, come on.
It's more of the long term of what's your outlook on life versus what happens to you.
And that's great.
It's not about what happens to you every second. It's about what your overall outlook on life.
Yes, and
what was the other? It's been brought up several times in trance about, and I hope I get this right. It's seeing, believing, receiving.
Seeing, believing, receiving. Interesting.
And that's what the Secret talked about. Yet in bringing abundance into your life. So if you think if your regular daily thought process is reflects or thinks in a terms of the glass is half full, okay, yes, you're attracting positive energy. If and positive as in another fun one to carry on is gratitude. If you think in terms of gratitude, you can that helps set your mind in terms of abundance. So instead of, if you're at the end of the week realize that you've been focusing on the glass is half empty, that's the negative form of mindset. And are you sinning at all? Well,
no.
that's up to you. It's
no.
It's okay. Now change that.
Yeah.
And stop yourself and say, oh, okay, how can I think different?
Yeah, I heard a Buddhist once talk about mindset in a way, and I really, really liked this analogy that he used. It's like, if pain is inevitable, and that is the thing about law of attraction. I think it gets dead wrong. It's that our mindset isn't going to overrule a chart. Charts have bad challenges that are written into them, and sometimes accidents just happen. And mindset isn't going to erase all of those things from happening. And so pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So I'll just say real quick,
there you go,
that if you know, if something painful in life happens, bam, that's an arrow in the foot. But our mindset, in addition to that, can be an additional arrow in the foot. So I have the option of 1 arrow or 2 arrows. And sometimes there's going to be sometimes there's going to be 2 arrows in the foot. Sometimes there just is. Some days you're just in a bad mood. But I think that there's some wonderful spirituality there to be had with helping easing one's mentality towards not shooting yourself in the foot a second time after something challenging happens. So my take, there is a nugget of truth there. I think that there's a risk that it can be too overly simplified by some of the speakers that are out there in the world. But God bless, to teach their own, and take what you want, leave the rest behind. And those are just my thoughts. But I'm so glad that you left that comment. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, Joey's like, "Oh, I got cotton boiling over there." No, you're fine. I'm so happy that you brought it up, because I really want people to just be free to pursue their spirituality, and not get sucked into anything that is controlling. So that's just where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Finding our own truth.
Yes.
Seekers after our own truth.
Yes.
Climbing the mountain of self usually isn't the Sunday afternoon picnic in the park.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to get rejuvenated? You do.
I raised my hand.
Well, I got one hand raised. I don't see the others because I'm not looking at the comments right now. However, now it's time for us to do a meditation. And I am challenged at speaking and doing things, 2 things at once. So that's the one. Great. Now it's time we encourage you to sit with your feet flat on the floor and your palms upward on your lap to receive that wonderful healing energy. For those of you that need to pay attention to what you're doing, don't pay attention to us, but by all means come back and listen to these wonderful meditations in the on-demand. For the rest of us, we are going to return after this, or return to consciousness here in a little bit. All right, enjoy.
Find a nice place to sit upright, with your feet flat on the floor and your hands up on your lap. Now, take 3 deep breaths to start relaxing the mind and body. And now close your eyes when you are ready.
This is called baptism. In your mind, lie down on a very beautiful white brocaded couch, surrounded by soft, billowy cushions. The room then recedes into velvety darkness, and you are gently spotlighted as you relax. Since you cannot see anything around you, you feel almost suspended in midair. All your senses are deprived of any other color, but just the darkness and the white glow beneath you. This, of course, is very much like what is happening in your life. However, now you're going to receive golden cords with which you can stabilize what we call the rocking of your essence. Even though you might have been in trepidation, holding lightly to the cushions, you now begin to see golden ropes attaching to the couch. They swirl gently, twining up into the air. And as they do, you feel a sense of love and security. The ropes twine and rotate, thickening until they become like pillars, and they surround you. And inside the golden pillars, the white light expands, flooding your being and purifying you. The light expands until you are submerged, baptized in an ocean of holy light, rinsed until you are pure. Feel yourself coming back now. Put yourself on the couch and then get up from it. As you do, you feel a force coursing through you, purifying, nurturing, loving, and energizing you.
And now, on the count of 3, bring yourself all the way up, back to full consciousness. 1, 2, 3, fully and totally awake.
You're almost returned, but I'm going to sit. There you go. Now you're returned.
All right. Fantastic. Fantastic.
While people recoup their consciousness. If you have any questions about what we shared, feel free to post in chat or email us questions to cat@novus.org, tom@novus.org, or newspirit@novus.org. And of course, we appreciate listeners, both live and on demand. Show your appreciation for New Spirit Radio by sharing, promoting, liking, subscribing. Check out our websites. Yes, we're on YouTube, Discord, and you can learn more about our philosophy by checking out what is that? Study groups. Thank you. Church services. We have Sunday service. I post a Sunday service on YouTube and Facebook. On the first Sunday of the month, there is a live Sunday service in Las Vegas. You're welcome to be invited to that. They also live stream that service in a Facebook group, which you can be invited to. I did that. Oh, and the last Sunday of the month, there is a special Zoom service. If you want to participate in that, you're welcome to get invited to. It's hosted by our Reverend Ellen Schloss. Now is the prayer ceremony I spoke about, the novena. What we are going to do, for those of you that are new, what we're going to do is say a phrase together. I'll lead us off, and we'll say this phrase together 3 times. And the phrase is, I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. So we say that together 3 times, and then I'll tell you what we want to ask for after each of those. And we do that 3 times. How does that apply? Well, that applies to our tenet number 10. It says, let no one convince you that you are less than a God. Do not let fear imprison your spiritual growth. And what I ask is that we all, regardless of when you're watching this, that we're all holding hands together and we're in a huge room making this really big circle. And for those of you that are ready, let's begin. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, ask for things for yourself. Okay. Again, here we go. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now ask for things for others. Okay, and the last one. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. I am God. I am part of God. I am God. All things are possible because I am God. Now, picture our light going out like a beacon of light for others seeking this spiritual knowledge. Now's a fun time. Change of subject. Think of something you appreciate from last week so you can carry that thought through the next week to help keep you mentally appreciative, positive, and uplifted. Now, show your appreciation to Francine and Raheem for researching all of this wonderful knowledge, Sylvie for coming to the insane asylum of the universe that we've learned about to start this movement, and for showing us how to get some peace of mind and grace while we're here, Asna for helping us and protecting us, and Father God for providing the most prestigious school for us to experience, learn, and satisfy our unique spark of curiosity. Appreciate Bob Ingold's help, and especially Sammy and Javon, Sammy Sweet Spirit, for producing and singing our wonderful theme music, our intro outro music. Writing, setup, and hosting is Reverend Catherine Taylor. Editing, technical direction, and hosting is Reverend Tom Bigley. And now a prayer by Sylvia. There we go. All right, here's a prayer.
Prayer for strength of my truth. Dear God, we ask for your immediacy in giving a blessing to us today. We ask for the Mother God to wrap us in her mantle of protection. We ask for the Christ consciousness, clear and beautiful, tall and strong, to walk beside us and in our hearts. Let no man or woman spoil the fact that we are now pure of heart and pure of spirit, and that we will let go of all the prejudicial things, the bigotry, the hurt, the guilt, and the fear. In removing that, we ask to stand before God as a shining pure example and a crystal light. And we ask only for strength and fortitude. We ask for a funnel by which our spirituality comes through. We ask to feel the warm baptism of healing coming directly from the Mother God, who is a great interceptor. From Christ, who was the anointed one on this earth, and from the Father God, who holds us continuously in his hand. We ask that the journey be made easier, and most of all, we have the strength of conviction and are witnesses to the truth. Let us say in our heart, blessed be thy name, and not to be afraid to say, God, I love you. You are my ultimate lover, creator, consummator, healer, benefactor, and all of this is for you. And when it comes time for us to go, we ask to be able to cross over that threshold blissfully, happily, and in the presence of your marvelous and magnificent force, and to carry the Christ consciousness, the embodiment of Christ, with us in this life. I ask this in the name of the Mother, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit's light that guides me through this dark world. Amen.
And Kat's going to tell us.
Love you very much, and God bless you. And we'll see you next week. Just good night.
For so long we have ignored you, as if you were not there. All praise went to the Father. We were so unaware that through the years you've shed your tears for all the pain we bear. Oh, Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God. You've planted every blade of grass, creator of the stars. And when I'm feeling down and out, you mend my broken heart. So now I sing this song of thanks because of who you are. Oh, Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God. You're more than a friend to me. You give me everything I need. In your peace you hold me tight. You are the bringer of the light. With no fear we boldly stand, because you hold this world in your hands. You are the truth, you are the hope and love we never knew. Oh, Asna, how we love you. Place no one above you. Always thinking of you. Bless your name. You are Mother God.